broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
You've waited all week long for us to sing a song, and now we're here for Galavant.
I mean, it really tried. It left us dead inside. The season finale of Galavant.
Bravo.
Guys. Hi.
So that's our opinions.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another AfterBuzz recap show for Galavant, if you hadn't already guessed. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to our channel at youtube.com/AfterBuzz and leave us a comment on iTunes and SoundCloud. Be sure to check us out with that. And actually, we're going to be keeping an eye on the Twitter hashtag ABTVGalavant. And we're also going to throw our Twitter handles out there in a second. I'm your host, Megan Salinas. Joining me on the panel tonight, Jacque Borowski.
Holla.
Katie Cullen.
Hi, all my buddies.
Blake McIver.
Hey, everybody.
And, wow.
We should probably do our Twitter handles before we start talking about stuff.
But that finale. Yeah. You guys can tweet at me directly on Twitter at the Menguin. That's TheMenguin.
I'm at 123Jackie_B.
I'm at Kiaxet, Kiaxet.
And I am at Blake McIver.
So, okay, guys. There are a lot of feelings going on, right?
You don't say. You don't say.
Go ahead. Now's a good time. Just go ahead. What did you guys think of the finale? What's the feeling we're all left with now that the credits have rolled?
We'd better have season 2.
Yes. Overwhelmingly, yes, because it was such a downer to have all those things happen, and then so far, it looks like it's not in a good position to be renewed, and so now that we know that, and then we've been left with this huge cliffhanger, it feels like an open wound.
Yes, it really hurts.
It does. We don't want it to be one of those series where it's like, oh, it got canceled. You'll never know the answers. Just like, no.
The other day, there was a top 10, a list on WatchMojo.com for the top 10 unresolved television finales, unresolved television plot lines, and I really don't want this to end up on a future list like that.
Yeah.
Whoa, I'm
support
curious.
Galavant, tweet people, rate people, tell them that you want it renewed. I will be doing a good amount of that, potentially in song. And seriously, guys, we need to know how this ends.
Seriously. How about you, Blake? What are your feelings?
Well, it was frustrating because the last 15 minutes were so plot heavy, and I feel like we could have spread that plot out over the whole hour.
Or over the whole show.
Yeah. It felt a little bit. I had a little whiplash in the last few minutes.
Yeah, because we spent so much time in the dungeon in these last couple episodes, not just these 2 episodes, but in the episodes before. It felt like, that going to a pirate ship could have been an entire episode, or like, that's why we need a season 2, apparently.
And as much as we're dogging on it, I think we all did enjoy the show itself.
Of course.
Oh, yeah.
It's just we kind of slammed on the brakes and hit a very, very abrupt end, so we're all still reeling from that.
And I think another thing, at least to the show's disadvantage in terms of like our visceral reaction to it right now, is that I think a lot of us were expecting it to kind of get wrapped up from the very beginning after 8 episodes, and then after that to kind of like, okay, we're testing the waters. If it worked, great. We'll go ahead and do it again for season 2, and it'll be an entirely new plot point. But that's not what we got at all.
The initial idea for this was like a mini series to tide people over from once. So for viewers, it's like who are tuning in to expect a mini series.
it's kind of a...
It's a letdown when you see that kind of ending where so many things are not wrapped up, and you're like, but if you don't get renewed, now I'm just going to be upset.
It's a slap in the face.
Yeah.
You're expecting it very much to be. Miniseries tend to be self-contained, so even if there is a season 2, we left a few things open. Okay, we'll swing in and resolve those, but this was like, we have resolved literally nothing. We resolved one thing. Brother died. Aside from that, woo.
I did have a problem with that we introduced so many new characters right at the end that I felt like we didn't get a nice button with our beloved characters.
Yes.
Like, we didn't get a button for Sid. We didn't get a button for Isabella. Like, not a resolves per se, but we didn't even get, like... I didn't feel like they got their fair share.
I agree.
No. I mean, there was so much plot, like, jammed into the last couple minutes there, and there was so much emphasis on, ooh, will they or won't they kiss? You know, it's like, that's not necessarily what you want to be emphasizing on if you're wrapping up a series.
Yeah.
And it's not fair that they brought Giles in and only had him for like 2 seconds.
Yes, let's go ahead and talk about that, because they have Anthony Head in this episode, who is wonderful. And for any of you who've watched Buffy, obviously, and for any of you who are Repo fans, I mean, I was really hoping for a full-on song.
He also played Frankenfurter. If you ever want to download him singing Sweet Transvestite, it's pretty awesome.
That sounds amazing.
Plays Galavant's dad and basically shows up to have a fraction of a song and then scar him for life.
Yeah.
Yay!
A lot of Galavant's emotional constipation seems to, like, stem from this opening scene. But let's go ahead and talk about that. Giles plays Arthur, Galavant's father, and I liked how we were talking about this song, this Your Moment in the Sun song that is just continually being interrupted. And I think it's safe to say we were all really frustrated from the get-go because they just would not sing this song, and Giles didn't get to sing more than, 2 bars?
If anything, it was foreshadowing for the rest of the episode, because he really isn't ever going to get his moment in the sun, so don't expect it from us.
Pretty much.
Got a tweet from Scott on Twitter. Keep in mind, ABC kept marketing it as a 4-week musical comedy event. Did they really not know the ending?
Yeah. That's a very good point. And I mean, I understand there's a balance here between ABC wanting fans to tweet in and say renew us, or pick us up for a second season, but you can have a self-contained first season that's really good and have fans still do that without leaving such a huge loose end.
And Jackie and I are a little bit jaded, too, because we were both on the Ascension
Yes.
Which, a lot of that, not to spoil anything.
Not.
But you can definitely tell there's a lot of, turn us into a show with the way
there was a lot of blue balls happening there, too. I was like, why did you do that to me?
Well, and the thing for Galavant is 4 weeks in, the people who are just like, oh, okay, whatever, have not been watching the show for 4 weeks. It's the people who are like, heck yeah, I am here for this, who have been watching the show for 4 weeks. We're going to be asking for it to be renewed anyway.
Yeah.
Going, we're not going to resolve anything until you ask for us to be renewed. It's just like, we already were. Now you're being a jerk. Stop it.
We also didn't get a dragon.
No dragon. No production number finale.
But they never promised a dragon.
No, they didn't. That's just me.
That was just we did get one. It was in the statue at Sydneyland.
Fair enough. We also got a few tweets actually from Amy Gonzalez. One, she wants to thank us for singing the intro. We're sorry.
We improvised that.
I like that.
We improvised that.
But yeah, she agrees. She thought for sure that when you had Anthony Head in your show to sing, that he'd be there for more than a couple minutes.
He's not like it's not like a wildly unknown person when the whole show has had these stunt casting where they bring in for an episode each a guest star, and it's like the other guest stars I feel got more airtime.
Well, she also brought up, plus, who would call his kid Young Galavant like they weren't even related? I think Dad had a lot lot of issues and just kind of passed them on.
Yeah.
Don't ever get married. Even later on in Galavant's head, he's like, damn it, Dad. But I don't know. I'm personally a big Repo fan. I really liked that music. It's weird, don't get me wrong. But especially Anthony singing in it. And so when he's on screen, and for anybody who's seen the musical episode of Buffy as well, you're really expecting something. And then when they just kind of cut it off and then he doesn't appear again, it is a little bit of a disappointment. And I gotta say, I get it. It's funny. And I know that that's kind of the intention behind it, too, is, this subverted expectations. But I just want to hear Giles sing, guys.
But if they had gotten someone else, someone who wasn't him, because all we really needed of Galavant's dad was that much. Mm-hmm. So is it we needed more Galavant's dad, or we just want to watch this guy sing?
I don't care about Galavant's dad. I want more Giles.
Yeah.
There's 7 seasons of Buffy. Start doing that.
He doesn't sing that much on them, though.
Yeah, it's just the one.
Okay.
Well, he sings in 2
there.
episodes.
He's still there.
But I also missed that there was no guest star in the last episode. I was kind of bummed about that because there was so much happening that we didn't really get a moment for a guest star to be there.
I think it's good that they didn't try to shoehorn one in because there was so much happening. There simply wasn't time.
I wouldn't have mind if they had, somebody come in to be a guest to play maybe a pirate captain that carted them away at the end. But I do agree with you. For the most part, it wasn't necessary. Although, and let's be honest, the show has been really good to us about the guest stars.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's true.
Weird Al, Ricky Gervais, John Stamos, they've had some really great guests. So I feel bad kind of complaining about the lack of a guest in the final episode when they're trying to shove so much in there.
I kind of felt like Prince Harry might be a guest star for a second until it just turned out to be a kid. Great
that
for
was
comedy.
weird.
But
What's weird is for the longest time, I kept thinking when he first came on, he reminded me a little bit of that prince from Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, and I was just having bad flashbacks. I was like,
oh no,
what is he gonna do? Is he gonna make them drink monkey brain?
Kalima.
oh my gosh, I just got PTSD just from that. Thank you so much.
Sorry.
Wow.
Admittedly, it did get kind of creepy at the end there.
Yeah.
That was really messed up.
He put his cousin in a box.
That was
That
weird.
was
Yeah.
essentially, it's like, we made you a room. He constructed a small room inside a room. She'll be there forever. Say goodbye to Isabella. She's like,
I hope his parents come out from wherever they're. I assume they're in the throne room, but I hope that they get introduced if we get back soon, because get your cousin out of there. No,
He turned her into a Polly Pocket.
That's creepy.
Yeah, for
And
real.
that essentially puts a very strong female character as a damsel in distress right at the finish line. It's like, no,
not
you're
again.
doing so
To be fair, though, I think she could probably kick down the wall if she really wanted to.
Well, I'm pretty sure that window she was looking out of was open, so...
Yeah, she could. It wouldn't be the first time she got herself out of trouble. So
True, that's true.
Yeah, with the pirates and everything like that. But let's talk about Prince Harry for a minute, because they do bring up Princess Isabella's parents bring up the fact that they're engaged and that he's on their way to save them, and that there's an age difference, and that she's like, it's really weird that there's this age gap between me and him. And we all had this expectation that Prince Harry was someone older, way older than her, and in comes this little boy who's just like, I'm here to save you, everyone. And it's like, he's adorable. It is really weird that they're engaged, but he's adorable.
I always thought he was just a little off.
A little bit, but
He's pinging my horror movie child senses.
To be fair, though, they very, very much straight up say their family tree is a straight line.
That's
there are
true.
no branches.
Straight
You're
up.
going to have some problems when that happens.
Yeah, you're lucky that there's not a hand growing out of the side of his face.
All things
I think that's a little far.
considered, yeah.
I think it also belayed our expectations, because when you think of somebody, you're calling somebody to come help, you would assume they would be older. You're like, okay, you're bringing in someone with gravitas, and you're
picturing a
another
Prince
Galavant.
Charming,
Yeah.
if nothing else.
Or another Galavant, because that's about the speed that knights tend to go in this world.
Yeah, or maybe someone like Kingsley, since she mentioned the age difference. Somebody who is war-torn and can definitely leave a trail of bodies in their
Right.
way.
Grizzled and angry.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, and yeah, he just ended up kind of being creepy. But his arrival does give King Richard the chance to kind of stall because, yeah, no, like he ever so smartly challenged his brother Kingsley, and then immediately was like, who will be my champion? Because Kingsley called dibs on Gareth.
Dibs, like, rude. No.
Super rude.
Well, and again, we're back to this, like, uber macho motif of, like, do you fight your own battles for yourself, or do you let someone else fight your battles for you? And it's like, that's great. Like, that's a great thing to have as a moral nugget here, but we never really get it resolved, even at the end of the second episode. Like, it's sort of dangling with our other loose ends.
Yeah, especially like the idea that, take responsibility for your actions, man up, is kind of an ongoing thing. And it never really happens. It's a lot like this opening song. It just doesn't really get going, and then when you think it's finally getting going, it's like, it's over. That's basically, foreshadowing for this entire episode. So yeah, that's a little frustrating.
Going theme, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because we were expecting someone to fight. That was the thing. It doesn't matter who exactly, because they change it up. It's like King Richard, Galavant, Gareth, somebody.
We did have those two random people fighting on the bar table, but I don't think that counts.
No. Then they, like, hugged each other because of the lullaby song.
That was really sweet. That was
cute.
Actually really adorable.
It was a cute song.
Yeah, I want to know more about Pearl than Annie. Like, clearly that woman has a story.
I want to see flashbacks with her.
I liked all of the songs this episode. I liked all of them.
I wasn't too fond of the Moment in the Sun song. But
I really loved that song, actually.
I liked the gag that went with it, but the song itself was just like, all right.
Well, it was a song that never really got going, and I know we were talking about this while we were watching the show, but I was expecting to hear a "This is the moment" from Jekyll and Hyde.
Yeah.
And again, that moment never really got going.
We got a nice melody, though, like a fragment of a melody. Good Menken melody there.
Yeah. Yep. But the other song in episode 7 is A Happy Ending.
Oh, God.
That we have.
Amazing.
It's priest, try a little priest.
I'm not over it. Like, we really did. We got, like, a Sondheim moment in the middle of an Alan Menken show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I thought that was how it was going to end.
Yeah,
I legitimately thought that they were going to kill everybody. That it would be a rocks fall, everyone dies sort of ending, and then we would just have them. There's no way you get a season 2 after that. Like, wow.
Or you get a season 2 because you have a clean slate.
But in a strange roundabout way, that might have been more sort of in tone of the show up till this point. To just have a ridiculous, absurd, and then the jesters there going, and so they all just died.
And
that's the end of Galavant.
I think we'd be just as angry if something like that had happened. I think we'd be up here being like, well, it was absurd, but it was kind of a cop-out.
But it wouldn't have been...
I do think that I was fooled.
The thing is, if they killed all these people, it wouldn't have necessarily been our main characters because they weren't at the table.
It was mostly just the royalty.
Right.
Because most of our other characters...
And Galavant stopped Isabella from eating. So it's like, I was like, oh, they're just going to kill all the bad guys.
Talking to her is one of his favorite things.
Which was conversation was our 4-hour debate over what Sid's thank you meant.
Thank you.
So passive-aggressive.
Well, speaking of characters, Dr. Chu on Twitter tweeted at us, King Richard was probably the most developed character in the whole series and maybe the most likable. Do you guys agree or disagree?
I think that's fair, actually.
I do.
That's a pretty fair assessment.
I liked him more than Galavant.
I do, I agree.
Galavant wasn't exactly one note. We did get some development with him, but I do think we had more for Richard. I think you are exactly right, Dr. Chu. Way to be.
Yeah, and the thing about Richard was, even though he's his king, and obviously he's ordered people to a lot of executions, and he's, coming in and taking over a kingdom that now has, 80 some odd people in it when it didn't before. The thing is that he's always been portrayed as somebody who's kind of innocent. Like, for having kidnapped Galavant's girlfriend and forcing her to marry him, he's always been very childlike.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think
we know he's a virgin.
Yeah.
And we know he's not going to force a woman to sleep with him, just kidnap her.
He'll just force her to marry him, but apart from that, he's really progressive.
His medieval feminist moment was very funny and
silly 13th century man. Like, okay. Okay, okay.
Bravo.
That was more feminist than I was expecting him to be.
Right? Thank you, show, for not crossing that line.
Right?
Yes.
It's a
We
little
really do
dark even for what
appreciate
we're
it.
looking at. We really thank you, show. Thank you.
Yeah, we really do appreciate that. Thank you for not going that dark.
Yes.
As for his innocence, it seems like he's never really had direct consequences for his actions. So he knows that as a king, he can take over things in order to be people to be executed, yada, yada, yada. But the consequences of such have never hit home, which is why he's still acting like a child and doesn't quite get what he needs to do, how he should be acting, how he should be a king, etc., because it's all kind of at arm's length, and no one has the authority to bring it home to him because they'll just be killed. Gareth and the cook are as close as he gets to people who'll be like, what are you doing? No.
And Gareth is the only one that will really tell him what's what, but even then, most of the time, Gareth gives in and indulges him to some degree.
Well, yeah, that means Gareth gets to kill people. Makes him happy. Whatever.
Job security.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, and even technically for King Richard, the biggest consequence he's going through right now is being sent home. It's the equivalent of being sent to your room. It's like, you didn't do your chores like you were supposed to, so you're going home. You're going back to your room.
But that wasn't a consequence of his actions. That was a direct result of Gareth's choice. The consequences of his actions probably would have led to him dying. But at least he stood up and had some expectations that really didn't pan out.
I do have to say I'm patting myself on the back for foreseeing Galavant and King Richard teaming up together.
Yeah.
That was, well done.
I was very proud of
well done.
myself. I was like, I'm feeling smug right now.
I was kind of smiling to myself when they were hopping. I was like, oh, they're going on a road trip together, just like Jackie said.
I thought for sure that Galavant would have been pretending to drink with the king so he could remain sober. No.
Galavant
He
does
fell
not
off
want
the
to
wagon
scoundrel.
hard.
Let's go ahead and talk about their secret mission.
Oh my
That was
god,
awesome.
that
We
was
sing.
I
that
loved
was a
that
drink.
song.
That was a straight up Irish drinking song.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yes.
And before
was
anyone's like,
hilarious.
it wasn't about drinking. Do you know how many Irish drinking songs are about dead people? Have you ever heard of Finnegan's Wake? So, straight up Irish drinking song. Wonderful. So happy.
Yep, well, they have a plot. And to Galavant's credit, at least he came up with a plan. Didn't necessarily execute it. And again, it's all in the execution. Is the name of the episode. He didn't execute this plan very well.
Not
Well, it is kind of
particularly.
interesting, though, because if you are that drunk, it's like, you're just like, this is a great idea. I'm going to do this.
Do it.
Yeah.
We should do that.
Totally kill him.
Oh my God, you're right. But he had that idea when he was sober. And
Yeah,
passed
but he
it on
didn't
when
have
he
like a
was sober.
plan. And we know he's not good at drawing maps.
His plan was probably to actually kill the king, but getting horribly, rollickingly drunk was not part of it.
I did love his drunk moment with Isabella, though.
Yeah.
Her beautiful brain.
Yes, and how it exploded on her face.
That may be my favorite Galavant line from that
Yeah.
character.
Yes.
It's just, it's that moment where you're just in too deep. You've already said too much.
Yes.
There's no way out. You just keep digging.
Yes.
I think everyone has one of those drunk moments. I mean,
Totally.
if they drink and if they've gotten drunk, they've got one. And that's all I'm going to say about that.
And it was actually good setup,
Period.
too, because they bring up the fact that the acoustics in the prison are fantastic. So it's really good setup
And
for the
everybody
next
can
song.
hear the lullaby song.
I feel like that's a poorly built prison, though. Because,
I agree.
the acoustics are great. You can hear everything they're saying in the rest of the castle. Don't people get tortured down there?
Yeah.
That's
It also
Maybe
makes
that's
it really
ruled by
hard
fear.
to scheme.
I feel like that was just not good construction.
Can we also point out, though, how in the last episode all of the gates in the dungeon were left open, and at the beginning of this episode
Yes.
everyone's locked in? I was like, no, you had a chance. You did not take it.
That was their moment.
Yes.
They can't,
In the
like,
sun. They
didn't have a
when
moment.
Gareth was dragging Galavant out to go, no, you go with him. The gate was left open. It just banged shut and opened again. It was like, go with him!
Right.
What
No,
are you guys
nobody
waiting
takes
for?
initiative here.
And honestly, Gareth probably could have smuggled them all out and back onto the pirate ship, especially if it is the same pirates that brought them there in the first place.
It has to be.
It's gotta be.
It's got to be the same.
The
pirates.
Lords of the Sea that are actually on the sea now.
Yeah, good for them.
Good for them.
They got character resolve.
They're a comedy. They're a British comedy troupe. If you guys want to look them up, they have videos on YouTube. They're quite hilarious.
Yeah, they're great.
They are glorious human beings, and we much appreciate them.
And Blake's right. Their story arc got resolved.
Yes,
They got off land.
Good for them. And they learned to respect one another and
be a team.
Life lessons.
They're the only characters that got resolution.
Oh
in
my
the
gosh,
show.
you're right.
Oh, those pirates.
Thank you for giving us the pirates. Thank you.
Show could always use more pirates.
Always. Can we talk briefly about the one moment that is like the most retweeted line from this evening, which is
ahead.
when Sid finally has his little Sebastian kiss the girl moment?
Oh, yes. Okay, talking about building up expectations for a song
And you hear
and
the
then
music?
not following through.
Well, I mean, I feel like that was just like a direct nod to
no.
people like us. You know, like-
I don't think they could have done a full-on kiss the girl
Right.
number. But like when they started going into it, it is a really fun wink and a nod.
and they didn't have to pay for it.
No,
That's the good thing about in-house.
I know.
In-house music, yay!
We own that already.
Yay!
I would have liked to have seen more of that. Actually, I think inside jokes or inside meaning like the audience is in on the joke with you. I think that would have been funny.
Inside Disney jokes are always fun and well appreciated.
Well, Sydneyland was a huge one.
That was a good one.
it's
just
That was
like,
a good one.
hello.
Well, now all I want, though, is a cover of Sydney singing Kiss the Girl.
Yes.
And we're never going to get that. I want it.
Yes.
We could tweet Luke.
Yeah, we should tell Luke to
Luke
do it.
cover.
And I'd like to hear it in his actual British accent, not
His other
Sebastian.
British
No,
accent?
not Sebastian Jamaican accent.
Oh.
Like that'd be adorable.
Yeah, that would be adorable. I like that. I like that idea. Luke, make it happen. We like that idea.
ABC, get on it.
There's a lot of things ABC needs to get on, like a second season.
Yes. Okay, yeah, we're going to keep coming back to that, aren't we?
Yeah, I think we're going to come back to that for a long, long time.
Unluckily for Richard, Kingsley obviously anticipated their... Well, I mean, it doesn't help when you're, like, singing at the top of your lungs that you're going to be
And
killing
like
your
fumbling
brother.
up the stairs. Yeah.
I did like the little scene of them sneaking silently past the guards, though. That
Yes.
was amazing.
Yes, in
That
the
was
throne room.
cute.
That
Yes.
was adorable.
It was excellent comedic timing with that. But Kingsley certainly was able to stop them. And do you guys think that when this series comes out on DVD that all of those beeps are still going to be beeped?
I hope not.
I hope not. Yeah, I agree.
I think it added an extra level of comedy because it was beeped, but we
Yeah.
also know it was necessary because ratings.
Yeah.
Because at being able to actually put it on the air.
Yeah. We got one in each episode, though. We got one from Kingsley and one from Vincenzo. Which, is this the first time we've heard the chef's name?
Yeah.
I feel like, yes.
I think so.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I mean, we might have gotten it earlier, and I totally might have missed it, but I think this is the first time we got his name and the name of the girl he's been trying to woo, who's Gwen.
Twitter, have we gotten those names earlier? Let us know.
Please
Thank you.
do.
We might have missed it.
Yeah.
Vincenzo, the whitest, lily whitest Italian I've ever seen.
Yeah.
He tries his best. I mean, he stays indoors most times. They really do. They keep him indoors. But we mentioned it a couple times before. They throw King Richard and Galavant back in the prison, which again is where we've spent most of the last couple episodes, and we get Pearl's song. And we've mentioned it a couple times on this panel, but I think we were all agreed that this was probably the best song in these two episodes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
beautiful.
Yeah. It actually served the exact purpose that the plot needed it to, which and that's kind of a tall order when you think about it. When you're building a script and it's like it's this lullaby that stops everyone from doing the bad thing. That's kind of a tall order for a songwriter.
Yeah,
like even
yeah.
Alan, he did it though. We got a beautiful lullaby.
You
the thing is,
literally
you
have to put the plot to stop at this moment.
Yeah.
You can take it out of context and it still works.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen very often.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially for musicals where you're telling the story with the songs, it's kind of hard to get something
Galavant.
Yeah. It is kind of hard to get something that's like isolated that you can technically listen to without and granted, a lot of these songs you can listen to without listening to the whole soundtrack, but this one in particular is kind of a little special gem. And Timothy did a really good job singing it.
Yes, he did.
He's got pipes.
Yeah. And I like that there's the more we learn about Galavant, or not Galavant, the more we learn about King Richard and Pearl, the more we learn that there's this bond that makes him more human with her, because the more we learn, the more vulnerable he gets, which makes him kind of like, instead of the villain at the end, he ends up being like the anti-hero.
Well, and I feel like Pearl might have been the only person who treated him like a human being, not the heir to the throne or the disappointment or second tier or I'm working for you or anything like that. It was just like, no, you're a person. You're my little boy and I'm going to take care of you.
Yeah.
She might have been the only one.
Yeah, and even poor Gareth at the very end, prior to him springing them, is like, when I kill you, it's going to be your fault. Like, I want to throw that out there. I'm completely blameless in this.
I like that Gareth and King Richard also have this bond that they both like, because Gareth and King Richard are so opposite. It's like you feel like their bond is the fact that they grew up together as well, and that Pearl looked out for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's no way that he would have been able to do it if they had to fight. I mean, obviously Gareth would win that fight. Right.
Yeah.
But there's no way.
I loved everybody trying to beat him up.
One of you needs to knock me out and take the keys.
And they all try. So
I love that Gwendolyn just kept punching him.
They had a blast shooting that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's pretty tall.
And she's so tiny.
Very petite.
Somebody has some suppressed rage issues, I think.
Did we feel like it was a little out of character, though, at the end for Gareth and Madalena?
Yeah.
I mean, no, we can talk about it.
We're panel divided. This is exciting.
Because let's face it, Madalena has always been an opportunist from the get-go in this series, and for a moment you think you go back and forth, because even Galavant says that every now and then he sees glimmers in her still, even though she's officially become the evil queen,
right,
where he sees a glimmer of something in what we can assume is probably goodness.
I don't think it was actually goodness, though, at that point. I think she was just getting frustrated with him doing what he does and letting him know what for.
It was honesty.
It was helpful, but she was just yelling at him in much the same way she turned around and yelled about the last Danish and threatened bodily murder.
I feel, though, I don't feel it was out of character for Madalena to kill him and take the throne. I feel like that was the setup. I feel it was out of character for Gareth to come up there.
I don't think
so. It was bizarre.
I don't think so. Well, again, if we get a season 2, we'll have to see how it plays out. But I don't think that was out of character for him at all. She still has the authority, but he also has enough authority at that point to kind of swing things his way. Because he did let Richard go. He did let everyone else go except for Sid. He's got to keep Sid alive somehow. And so he needs the authority to be able to do that. And being the king means that he can.
I also, though, don't see how she benefits from having a king. It seems like she's just so frustrated every time she has to deal with these men anyway, and we know she goes through them like
and it's kind of
popcorn.
Interesting too, because it's not like she and Richard got divorced. He's just
what is the concept of divorce in this world?
Right?
Patriarchal society. Gareth's good at taking orders.
Now be a good dog.
Pretty much. And I think that's how she's still going to see him, despite the fact that she promoted him, is, no, he's still my dog. And he's going to be like, no, I'm the king, and I'm meaner than you.
Yeah, but he does admire her strength, and he is still loyal to Richard, so it'll be interesting if after having gotten this power, if he'll let it go.
I don't know. Again, he has a lot of layers, and we haven't gotten to explore that, except in the last 15 minutes of the last episode.
Because anytime they talk about feelings, he's like, I don't want to talk about it.
Not a hugger. I don't like it when men touch my face.
That was amazing.
Well, in my horrible, tacky pop culture, sort of correspondence to these characters, Madalena is my Kim Kardashian, and Gareth is just not the Kanye that I wanted her to end up with. I think that's my dilemma.
Gareth doesn't pick out her clothes for her?
I don't know how to follow that up. Who would you have liked to see Madalena end up with?
Tweet us. I apologize for the Kardashians.
I would have liked to have seen her single.
Well, and it's interesting, too.
I'm done. Good night, everybody.
Just need to go.
Yeah. I'm leaving now.
But yeah, no, that does bring up an interesting question, like whether or not she would need anybody. Like if she would end up, like, it's hard to say if she'll end up with somebody that she deserves to end up with, because she's still a pretty terrible person. She may have moments, because she could have easily let Kingsley kill Gareth and then stabbed him in the back, but instead waited for the opportune moment and killed him instead.
Patriarchal society. We have a queen, we have a queen. She must need a king. This is 13th century Europe. You have to have a man running things.
But in a tongue-in-cheek comedy, and we've had plenty of fairy tale stories with just a queen. And just an evil queen at that.
True, but they usually wind up wiped out by the hero, and she doesn't seem the type.
Again, this is a comedy show that can do whatever it wants.
Yeah, true.
They could open up a portal to another dimension and end up in the Once Upon a Time universe if they wanted to.
Oh my God.
With Regina
That is
just
the
standing
crossover
there.
that I never knew I wanted. Oh my gosh.
As if we didn't give ABC enough work to do tonight.
Right.
I know.
Add that to the list.
Maybe that's their end game.
First. Second season, and the rest is gravy.
Maybe that's their end game, is that the ship will be going and will end up in Storybrooke somehow.
Never know.
That's the end game for every ABC thing. We're all just going to Storybrooke.
Yeah, why do we all have to end up in Maine? How depressing.
It's like Stephen King. Everything's in Maine.
Yeah. Multiverse, there you go.
Oh, God, multiverse.
He writes about the multiverse. Anyway.
We have from Amy Gonzalez, who knows her stuff. We got Gwen's name earlier, but not the cook's.
Oh, thank you,
there we go.
Amy.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep, so that's true. And she also wants to know how Richard got the crown and sword back from Kingsley when they hopped onto the boat, I guess.
I guess.
I don't know. I missed that, if that was the
He
case.
didn't have either.
Yeah, no,
The crown was on the floor. No, that was Kingsley's crown that was on the floor. Maybe Gareth grabbed it for him.
I have no idea. But he looked good without the
Gareth has
crown.
the-
Dr. Chu wanted us to point that out as well.
Yeah, he did. Yes, he did.
He did.
It's a good wig.
Yeah. It was a good wig. Unlike other wigs on other shows that I have seen. It was a good wig.
I actually don't think it was. I mean, the actor actually has pretty long hair right now, and I think he
Oh,
he
you
grew
think
that out
it's
for
real
the part.
hair? Yeah, well, there's that. Your wig looks so good it looks real.
People tell me that all the time.
We've talked a lot about our feelings of this particular ending, because the show didn't wrap up with a big show-stopping one day more number. It ended with the Galavant reprise, which I feel if it had been a little longer would have been a little bit more satisfying. You know, have the characters sing about how they feel instead of just kind of wrapping it up really quickly in a shoehorned reprise.
And the reprise was basically like, you're screwed because nothing is happening the way you want it to. And I'm like, well,
Let's
that's
look for
not
season
cool.
2. Yeah.
And it made a crack about being a musical might have destroyed our ratings.
Yeah.
Which it may very well have done, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's the fun of the show, guys. So, but
I don't like musicals. You're missing out on life.
we've talked about our feelings, and we've talked a little bit about the possibility of season 2 and how that's not necessarily super likely. But let's go ahead and talk predictions anyway. Let's go ahead and talk about what we would like to see
Your AfterBuzz
if we were
TV
so lucky to get a season 2. Because there are, like you guys said, so many loose ends to be tied up with this finale, and it's kind of like singing mid-song and getting interrupted, and that's where the storybook gets closed on us. What loose ends would you like to see tied up, and how would you like to see them resolved?
Well, the thing that's the most pressing for me is to find out what's going on in Sydneyland, and what is his Jewish mother doing now that he is imprisoned, and like what stories are they telling? I just want another episode. I just want another Sydneyland episode.
I agree.
And in seriousness, though, I love this cast so much. They've assembled a great ensemble, and I do hope they get the opportunity to do another season because they're just fantastic, and they've got great chemistry all across the board. Every character connection has a great. Nobody's weak. But yeah, no, I would love more Sid. More Isabella.
Yeah, both Sid and the Jester were really underutilized in this finale.
Yes.
They even made a joke about it, like, we're just here for the jokes. And no, they're not, guys. They are characters now.
Yeah.
You've established them. Give us more.
They all have names. At this point, everyone has a name. The chef has a name. The Jester has a name. Everyone's name.
You had that moment earlier where he's like, I don't know who the black kid is. And then Sid goes, wow. And then later in the episode, you're like, he's so underutilized. It's like, you're like, that just flashed back to earlier where it's like, nobody cares who he is.
He's the only one Madalena hasn't met yet.
Only one.
In all fairness.
But he's so
the way she presented it was not great, but he is the only one that she hasn't really dealt with or met.
Well, again, and at least as far as the Jester goes, if he wasn't important, they would have just killed him.
Yeah.
We've seen this show kill people before. It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
We needed him for the reprise.
We did. We can't not have a narrator.
It's true.
We have to have him narrate Galavant.
Exactly.
I guess he's safe for a little while then. That's the
Let's
case.
hope.
Maybe.
And the other thing is that our trio, it's not just that they're separated from Galavant. It's our trio.
It's completely broken up.
They've separated they've split the party.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Sid's in the castle still being captured. Isabella is kind of
In a
trapped.
Ugh, that's what I want. I want her out of the box.
Yeah.
And out of that marriage.
Possible.
I want to know where Galavant and King Richard are going because we didn't see where they end up, and we know Isabella is at the cousin's house, but we know that we don't know where Galavant is.
They're supposed to be going back to King Richard's kingdom because they were in the kingdom of Valencia,
Right.
which is where King Richard invaded.
They're going back to Burbank.
Bakersfield.
Bakersfield, yeah.
They're going back to Bakersfield.
But I want to know what that looks like. Oh, jeez.
But
I don't even know.
So they're technically going back to the kingdom where Richard presumably is still king because they don't really know what's been going on in Valencia. So they're he's just going home. I think they'll probably get into a bunch of shenanigans along the way, and poor Galavant, he's stuck with King Richard. I think they're going to bond. I genuinely think that they are either going to grow to respect one another, or they'll kill themselves trying.
Or they can just drink a lot.
Kill each other.
Yes.
That too.
And do more secret missions.
I don't particularly want too many episodes on the boat. I want them to show back up in the kingdom, and for Richard to
Unless
have to
they're doing
deal
pirate
with
things.
Again, like 1, maybe 2. I don't want a whole season of everybody look at me because I'm sailing on a boat. I want them back in the kingdom dealing with the ramifications of Richard's conquest and him coming home on a pirate ship without his queen, without riches, without a lot of things. I want to see what happens there.
And I don't want Sid to be in the dungeon the whole time. I feel like Gareth would let him out at this point because now he's in a position of power. It's just not cool to have him in the dungeon.
No.
I feel like he'd keep him. I don't know if he would keep him in the dungeon, but I feel like he'd keep him.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a squire. He's good at polishing things, and you can put him to work.
And I think actually it's not bad setup, early on, if they have bigger plans for Sid. The whole episode with Sydneyland, it actually might be good setup for him to be the hero of his own story before they're all reunited.
Possibly.
Yeah.
That would be nice.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah. And I don't think that Gareth will harm him because he seems to be a man of his word.
Yes.
He kept his word from when he was a 10-year-old boy who's taller than that, but so he seems to be a man of his word, so I don't think he's going to hurt Gareth, and I think this is a perfect opportunity he's not going to hurt Sid, I'm sorry. I think this is a perfect opportunity for Sid to shine. That's what I would like to see. And And same with Isabella, in all honesty, because she's off on her own. And I think we've mentioned before, we've seen her get out of trouble on her own.
Yeah.
I can definitely see them all being heroes and coming back together as such, and being able to come back together as a team that way.
It was a little weird to me that she just walked into the Polly Pocket house without saying 2 words
I'm not
about
going
it.
in
I'm
there.
like, why did you do that?
Well, you have to play nice so that the kid will host everyone else. The cook, the servant, the jester, your parents. And everyone acts differently around their parents. So it will be interesting to see how that plays out, because your parents want one thing for you and you don't always necessarily agree, and incest. And that's a little weird. I feel like she has a really good reason to disagree with her parents on that one.
Yeah, and again, I would like to see Prince Harry's parents come out and be like, why did you put... No, everybody come out. This is weird. No. So, yeah, I want everybody to not have to be rescued, to be able to get out of the situation on their own and come back together to take out Madalena.
Yes.
Yes, because Valencia is still in big trouble as long as she's on the throne.
And no cliffhangers at the end of season 2.
Yeah.
Because, dear God.
Resolution would be nice.
Wrap it up in a box and put a bow on it.
Kind of a joke.
Just not a box with Isabella in it.
Right.
Kind of a joke one. If you guys could have any Disney character pop up in this show, who would you want to see? Like, since we were talking crossover earlier.
Man.
Are we counting Once Upon a Time characters?
Yes.
Because Regina.
Yes. Oh my gosh, she would show Madalena how to be an evil queen.
I just kind of want, like, classic Prince Philip. Because he's the hero that does stuff. Compare him to
The active
Galavant and
hero.
be like... He doesn't even sing. I do too sing. Just with Aurora, not you.
Blake, any
Yeah,
requests?
I really like the Prince Philip idea. I'm really on board with that.
The
Yeah.
competent hero and Galavant.
Yeah, because I mean, he kills a dragon and goes through thorns and defeats the powers of hell to get her out of that tower. Like, that's
true.
Fairly valiant.
I'm a big Mulan fan, so I just like throwing her into any situation, and she can fight, so she'd be good in lots of different situations, and she can sing. So anyway, guys, that's going to wrap it up for us here at the Galavant panel. Since it's not looking likely like we'll have a season 2, but we can still keep our fingers crossed, let ABC know that that's what you want to see, because we would love to come back here for season 2 to sit and talk about it.
Yes.
So we really appreciate that. Thank you guys all so much for all of the tweets, all of the messages, all of the comments on iTunes. It really does help us out when you go, and the people behind the scenes really appreciate it as well. Guys, yep,
There's booth guy Steve.
you heard it officially. They worked really, really hard to put everything on the website and on iTunes for you guys to enjoy for free, so it means the world to us. So anyway, thank you guys so much again. Jackie, where can the people find you if they want to find out more?
123 Jackie_B on Twitter, at 123 Jackie B, all one word, on Instagram.
I'm Katie Cullen. You can find me on Twitter, Tumblr, and Instagram at Kiaxet. That's Kiaxet. I'm also on the Star Wars Rebels panel.
Nice.
And you can find me on both Twitter and Instagram at Blake McIver.
And I'm Megan Salinas. You can find me on Twitter at TheMenguin. That's TheMenguin. Again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Here's hoping we will see you for season 2. Farewell.
Season 2 on Galavant.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.